This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everyone. We're going to talk about something that I would almost guarantee is affecting you right now, and you don't realize it. And when I say this word, you're going to have a certain picture, but that's not necessarily the full reality of what could be challenging you in your life, holding you back. I'm talking about grief. When I say that word, right away conjures up a picture of a loved one passing away. And certainly that's heavy grief, but it comes in many other shapes and forms. The ending of a job, relationship, it's on and on and on. They are all grief connected. Many of us don't process it. We bury it in our minds. We pilot life forward, but are we really moving forward? I found somebody that can help you unpack that grief, understand it, work you through it in many different ways. And so great to have her with us. She is the person behind Feels Fostering Freedom. Fiona Mitten is on the program. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Lots to learn here. And when I have somebody on, I go right to it. So I'm going to go right to what we often hear, the 5 stages of grief. That has been around forever. And then I start hearing that it's really not the reality of the way that you should walk through a grieving situation. What are your thoughts on that? Because it's everywhere. You Google it, it comes up. It's been around for decades.
Okay, so I actually had a conversation with the person, one of the women that I work with, and when she explained that to me, because I've been terminally ill in my life, so I've outlived palliative care, and I've had experiences in my life. And when we were talking about that, I had said, never was I in denial that the person was dead. Like, if we're talking grief and bereavement, never was I in denial that someone was actually dead. I might have been angry that God took them, or however we view that, but I didn't bargain. I didn't do any of those like that didn't happen. The grief is not like, it's not linear. It doesn't just happen and then you go through those 5 stages and then it's just done. That's not at all what grief is like. And so when we were talking about that, she said the woman that wrote that the 5 stages of grief, she wasn't working with people that were grieving. She was working with people that were terminally ill. And so as soon as I got my head into my sick brain, like my terminal illness brain, I was like, oh, holy crap, that totally makes sense. So she wasn't actually working with the people that were grieving the people. She was working with people that were dying and helping them. That's what that was all set out for. And she's actually friends with John, who wrote the Grief Recovery Handbook. John and Russell, they were actually friends, and she retracted that, but society just clung on to it and flew with it. So when I got my terminal illness brain on, I was like, oh, that totally makes sense. I was totally bargaining with God. Like, what can I do to not die? Like, what can I was angry because everywhere I turned around, bad things kept happening. That people would say, oh, it's okay, it'll be different tomorrow. It'll be better tomorrow. No, it won't. I was dying. There was nothing better about it. And so when I put that brain on, I was like, oh, so now it makes sense. When you're the person that's terminally ill, click, 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 click. But when you're the person grieving the person that's terminally ill, has nothing to do with that whatsoever. And that's how that works.
Thank you for sharing that, because that further illustrates how we can be in grieving situations and not even know it, that it's weighing heavy on us emotionally, energetically, and more. And let's look at that for just a moment. Some of those other things that we may be grieving or will be grieving or have walked through the grief door, relationships, divorce, there's so many, right?
My first one in my head, like when I started doing this, and it was funny in a quirky kind of way. So I had been I got hit by a drunk driver in 2005, and I was a long haul truck driver for most of my life. And that shifted everything for me. Like it was that traumatic event that just literally crippled me emotionally, spiritually, physically,
Mm.
in every area of my life. And so I lost my career, I lost my income, I lost my partner that I had been with for a long, long time, because he couldn't watch me die. And not all of us have the same coping skills. So
Mm.
like I was really mad at him for a long time. And then I did this recovery stuff around him. And remarkably, I'm not angry at him anymore. And at all. And my death doula, who became my husband, who made me Mrs. Mitten, he's passed away to pancreatic cancer. And amazingly, Craig and I are back together. And we're back together because I'm not angry anymore, because I did this recovery stuff on that one relationship. And it's like we're 25 again. And there's no resentments, there's no hurt, it's just all gone. So it's amazing to me how when I can complete the relationship, the old relationship, that it allows me to be with the same person and not hold any of that old stuff because it's just gone. It's remarkable. This program is absolutely remarkable.
We will do with your permission, an entire podcast on forgiveness in the very near future. It's
Right.
you know, it's something that many of us don't believe or realize how important it is to move our life forward. When you work with somebody who's in a grieving situation, how does that look? It's because every situation is different, every person is different. What's the starting point? I'm curious here how you work with somebody in the grief recovery method.
So the grief recovery method is set out. It's in a book. I have it right here, actually. Shockingly, it's always been handy. It's this beautiful little book, and everything is in here from point A to point B, and from A to Z. So this book saves more lives and helps people. I don't dissuade from this. This book is what it is. It's their program. I simply help people go through it. So when people reach out to me, it's about we do it. It's so you start with a loss graph, right? Like that's what it's called, is the loss graph. And so you'd start with your first conscious dawn of memory, right? So mine would have been when I was a little girl. My uncle and my dad made me this amazing tree house. Like I had a house. Like it was like it had kitchen table, kitchen chairs, windows, door small enough but it was a house. It was a building. It wasn't like when people talk about houses, they think like little toy houses and stuff. It was an actual house. It was a wood
It's
house.
like a kid's dream come true. It's an adult's dream come true.
Right. It was awesome. And so that was my first dawn of conscious memory. So I'd have been probably 4, maybe.
Mm.
And so that was good. So what the loss graph is about, literally going year to year to year, or memory, 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 so you put your date of birth, your first conscious memory, and then go from there. And everything is about all the shock, whether it be, I mean, you and I had talked before the show started about the first trauma that we all have that we don't even know exists, is when the day you're born, because you come into the world, nobody has this first conscious memory. I mean, maybe some people do, but I would say it's probably unheard of. It could be wrong. It's been known to happen a time or two. And it's when we're in our mother's womb, and we're coddled and warmed and rocked and sang to and talked and patted and loved and all that stuff. And then you come out into this big bright light and get smacked and they make you cry, right? Like, how's that not traumatic to anyone? And so it starts there, but we don't know that.
Mm.
And then we move forward. So then my first with clients, like, I can give my story because it's easier than sharing someone else's. So then I have this tree house. It was a beautiful memory, but my dad was sick, like physically ill my whole life. And so all my losses after that It's not about relationships, it's about losses, right? So I'd have been 5, I guess, and my dad um, misbehaved with another woman, and my mom kicked him out. And but she saved him, and he loved her enough. But that was the first time that I felt that my dad was not there,
Mm.
and that was, and because my mom kicked him out, and then he loved her enough that they got back together. He was probably gone 6 months or 8 months or something.
Wow.
But my mom said to him, don't ever hurt me again. So my mom had trauma, like her own, all that stuff. So we all have these lines of losses, right? And each relationship is so different, right? Every relationship we have, the relationship I have with my parents before they passed, and the relationship my sister had with my parents before they passed, my like every single relationship we have, because we're different people, we all our graphs are going to be different, no matter who you are, where you come from. And we live in a life where we have this backpack, and every loss or every grief or every hurt, all those things, we stick another rock in our backpack, right? We stick another rock in our backpack. And sooner or later, that backpack gets so heavy that it takes one thing to snap the camel's back, right? That straw that just can't take anymore, right? And so we start to do things like drink alcoholically, or smoke cigarettes, or shop, or work 18 hours a day. Because if I'm a workaholic, society says that's a good thing. Look at that person. They're working so hard.
Plus, you don't have to confront your pain.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Like,
Are you my soul sister? Like, what's going on here? Because the I use that analogy and have for years, and I call it the emotional backpack. And it's like you throw everything back there, you zip it up, you think it's hidden back there, I'm not going to deal with it anymore. But at some point, you're going to tip back or tip over because it's so heavy. And on the memory, I've heard, and this is true for me, that your first childhood memory, as far as you can go back, and I'm not being negative here, but this is what I've heard and comes up for me. It's usually a negative memory. Now, yours seems like a positive if you can go as far back, that's the first one. And I hear that a lot of times it's a negative memory because it's there to protect you. Your subconscious just throws it out there. Keep us safe from that again. And what's interesting with what you do, Fiona, is that what we're talking about here is those traumas that are in your subconscious from the moment you got the slap on your butt when being born. And part of those traumas is grief, but some of those traumas can be grief and us not even realize what's going on there. So just powerful method that you've got going on there. Because I've talked to others that help people get through grief. Never have they ever said about the traumas that sit in our subconscious. And of course, we could talk about what that means. I call them little T traumas, big T traumas. The big T, of course, the passing of a relative. The little T, you got bullied on the playground one day, and that sets you up for a feeling inadequate, not good enough the rest of your life. So I love what you do already.
People don't, because trauma is just a new word for unresolved grief, right? So they change.
Hey, I never
Right?
heard that before. I'm gonna sit with that one all day.
Mhm.
Wow. Thank you for that. Because it makes sense.
It does, right? Like, if we don't deal with something, and because it is just unresolved trauma, no matter how you look at it, all of those things encompass loss, right? Whether it's loss of self, whether it's loss of trust, whether it's loss of, like even when I hurt myself, right? Like, I mean, so in my brain, because we all come with that little package in our head that belittles us all the time, right? Like, not enough, not pretty enough, not smart enough, not cute enough, all that stuff, right?
Yep.
And so I've nicknamed mine, and her name's Not Enough Nancy. And she has a name. And when she starts getting sassy with me in my head, right, tell me all that stuff, I can literally visualize her on my shoulder up here. And when she gets mad, I just literally, I have a great imagination. I can flick her off my shoulder and just watch her go into the wall on the backside here, flick, and she's gone, right?
Nice.
Because we all come embraced with that, not enough, right?
Which I hear from therapists doing podcasts with them and such, that is the number one thing that we all walk around with, and that is everybody in some shape and form.
Absolutely.
Mm.
I mean, it's like when we talk about, I mean, I'm going to break my anonymity here, but I've been sober alcoholic for, I just took my 34 years. I got sober at 18. And so with that being said, like I have had that incessant belief system in my head that I'm not enough. And that's why people say, why do you drink? Well, I don't know. I drank because I just didn't like who I was. And it had nothing to do with trauma. I was raised in a very nice home and I have beautiful parents. You know, and all that. Like I come, and I guess maybe I view it different because people in my family look at my life and like it was all traumatic, right? Because my dad was so sick and then my mom got sick and we took care of my grandparents and they were, so in my brain though, I don't view that as trauma where other people would look at that and go, holy crap, that's traumatic. I looked at it as the ability to learn from that because I got sober so young. So I was able to look at all that stuff and go, I don't want to be that person.
Mm.
I don't want to be the part of my mom that allowed my dad to walk on her. I didn't want to be the part of my dad that could be cruel, even when he didn't mean to be sarcastic, right? Like we can be cutting without hurting people. Or we can be cutting with hurting people and not realize that's what we're doing, right? And so in my heart of hearts, I was willing to learn the lessons from my parents, and they were very good people. Like, don't get me wrong, there was no alcoholism in my home. I was never beat. I was never spanked. None of those things happened to me. Matter of fact, I was probably spoiled rotten, which is a lot of how I ended up where I ended up because I never got in trouble for nothing. And but nonetheless, I never seen my parents fight. I've never heard them fight. So they kept all that stuff very private. And in my mind, that's good parents. You don't need to put your stuff on your kids, right? That's good parenting. And I look back and I'm grateful that I learned the lessons I did from the hurt that they had lived through, right? Like my mom had stuff from her past that damaged her that she never talked about until she was dying. And then we had some very good, candid conversations about the things that harmed her. And so with my dad, in hindsight, I know that he was hurt as a child, but it's all 2020, right? It's always looking back, going, oh, right. And so when we get to do this grief recovery and you're going right back to the very start, and this hurt me, and this hurt me, and this hurt me, even grieving my past life with my sobriety, right? Because alcohol was my passion. It was my lover. It was my best friend. It was my everything. And I can remember being 5 years sober. My sister said to me, Fiona, because I wanted to drink or I wanted to die. And my sister said, you do realize that you're grieving the only thing that you ever actually loved. Like, because I was such an alcoholic I was an alcoholic before I ever picked up a drink. So I had the isms all the time. So when I look at that, and she said, you've never grieved the loss of your go-to, if that makes sense.
So question on that. This is just amazing, by the way. I rarely say that. This is what you offer. I'm digressing, but people help others go through their traumas. You're helping people go through their traumas, work on them, but also the grief aspect. So beautiful blend. When you left the bottle behind, did you grieve that?
Not at first. I was 5 years sober. And my sister said, if you're going to drink, I'll beat you to death with a whiskey bottle before you ever get drunk again.
Well, the reason I even said that is we have a relationship with everything. We don't realize it. or we should have a relationship with everything. Money. You should have a relationship with money. I've heard invite money to the table. You're having dinner, place setting. Hey, how you doing? Welcome. Where you been? Could use you here more. That kind of thing. So that's why I look at you gravitating toward alcohol and then leaving it, again, a relationship. So then I wonder, did you grieve leaving that behind because it was your friend, it was your lover, that kind of thing?
I did, but I didn't realize it was grief until my sister pointed it out 5 years sober. And then everything, like that's when everything changed. So I'm 34 years sober, but I don't think anything actually changed in my life except not drinking for that first 5 years.
Wow.
I was a lunatic. I was a star. I was a sober, dry alcohol. I went to meetings all the time. I slept probably an hour a day. I was if I got sober in today's society, they would have had me diagnosed bipolar. I mean, the list of what they would have labeled me with would have been unending, right?
What was it? Just because I don't want to say just because, but was a lot of that because you were grieving, leaving it behind?
Oh, absolutely. And without even knowing that's what I was doing. Yes. Absolutely.
You just brought more evidence to what we started with here today, how grief shows up in many shapes and forms. Honestly, I would have never thought that somebody would be grieving, not being able or making the decision not to drink anymore. Wow. I mean, just add that to the stack of everything that we're grieving. And then right back to what you said before, the traumas that we've gone through are unresolved grief. Would you say, and I'm trying to process that, and the only way, I can do that, and as many of us, is you put yourself in those shoes and the things that you've dealt with, or we've dealt with. Is every trauma unresolved grief? I'm just going to throw out, is every trauma?
I would say.
Again, I'm going to sit with that all day, and you think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I really am. Because I've never heard that said before, but it's resonating in such a huge way. We're just about out of time. So much more to talk about when we get together. If somebody is going through grief or knows someone who is, or just wants to start a conversation, they just know they're stuck. They need to move their life forward. How do they contact you?
They can contact me at info@fffreedom.online.
And I know your website in progress. You're working on that. Yes. Should we give out that as well?
Yes, absolutely. So it's the same thing. It's www.fffreedom.online. Same thing. My email is info@, and the website is just.
Gotcha. Yeah. Final question.
Shoot.
The FFs that we're talking about here is Fields Fostering Freedom. Now, of course, freedom is the word. You want to be free. The chains come off, the grief chains, all of that. How'd you come up with that name? Well,
my mom and I actually, before she passed away, I wanted to start a foundation, and I'm not allowed to use the word foundation yet until it's a nonprofit. So that's a work in progress. But my maiden name was Fifield, so it's Fifield. So because there was 4 of us, so Fields and then fostering, because we have to grow, right? So that's where we're building from the ground up, and yeah, that's where that came from.
Love it. And even your last name, Mitten, right away, I've got the glove going on and embracing and being there, that hand that reaches out. Thank you so much for today. Great meeting you. So much more to talk about next time we get together, and truly looking forward to that. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, DP. Have a wonderful day.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.